All right, welcome to your end of day recap. This is Christian from Hertz, Tribeca Trade Group. So we managed to kind of hold for the major indices. I would say a pretty boring day overall. But again, the action remains in the single stocks, which I'm going to go through and kind of give you a lot of the option activity for the day, a lot of the movers of the day. But you could see, not much really to kind of talk about in terms of the indices. I could maybe spend about 30 seconds on them. The S&P, right around 10 o'clock, we had a little bit of volatility that came in. We held, it's why we've got these support and resistance lines on our charts. Really gives us a good idea if there's a lot of pressure coming into the market. Not so much, to trade the indices. I just don't see that that's the alpha is in here. Just kind of just shows us right now if there's any major selling or buying going on. Same thing with Nasdaq. I'll kind of go through all through quickly. Nasdaq started the day high, higher than anything else in terms of the major indices. I think we were up about 25 basis points. So they did come in. It got a little bit nervous here to see if we were going to hold the top of value, but we held nicely. We had one bar that maybe touched it. The problem area that was for the day, I would say, which again held pretty nicely here. I almost was looking to put on a short in IWM. I talked about this pre-market. And I said between Nasdaq, S&P, and the Russell small caps, the only one that started the day below value was IWM. So you did see a couple big red bars here, but you see a nice hammer bar right around the low of the day, which was 10:30 in the morning. So there was no real reason to kind of short here. Again, I was looking at it and I was like, oh, there could be some more downside to go here in small caps. Sorry, this candle looks like it's screwing us up here. But you go to the 1 hour bar, and you had a lot of room to the downside. We consolidated at the point of control, but no breakdown here at all in IWM, and it almost looks like we got to the end of the day. Qs, I thought there was something else that I saw, but on the 1 hour, but maybe it wasn't. So yeah, so basically that was it in terms of volatility in the major indices. So the real moves today were retail, a little bit of a short squeeze. Whenever there's going to be positive news in an area that's heavily shorted, we got this morning the Target came out and said that their same-store sales were going to be higher than expectations. And again, you look at the hourly bar and you could see how much volatility this XRT has in it, the retail ETF. But this was the best performer of the day, and sometimes that's how it works when you've got something heavily shorted. So if you go into the movers of the day in XRT, and you can kind of see which names in this group. Again, this is an equally weighted ETF. Tailored brands, some of the most heavily shorted names were the ones that went up today. So you look at GES up 6.3%, JCPenney up close to 8%. It's almost like a dead cat bounce when this stuff happens. Gap, which I think I mentioned in last night's video, somebody came in and bought 5,000 here. I'll show you the order in GPS. It was 5,000 calls that were purchased that I followed. I just bought a really small position in them, for a lotto, but these were purchased right before the close and very aggressive. You could see when the implied volatility moves up like that. So I went in and followed this trade. Guess what? I got into this trade for 13 cents. I paid a little bit more than they did. I took the last target at $1. So really good. And you want to stay long these things. I kept on moving my stop, my limit price up higher and higher and higher throughout the day, and I decided $1 was a good place to go ahead and take a target or an exit. Some of these names, I talked about Conagra the other day, names that are in downtrends but may bounce a little bit. Conagra did it a little bit today. I was able to hit my first target in this one. Again, I want to be a visitor in this name and not kind of set up camp. So maybe one more day for me in Conagra, even though I'm in December calls. Nice little bounce. I got into this right here. So nice bounce from the lows, but it didn't finish on the highs today. So nice to take one target. We'll see how much longer I stay in this position for. Besides that, it was kind of, got to be a little bit sleepy midday. The option activity kind of died down, which again, I'm going to go over all that. But the story was, we started to see all of biotech rally today. It was weak. It was the worst performer to start the day, but all it takes is a little bit of headlines about they're making, Washington's making progress about a healthcare deal, and look at what happens to all of this. So a lot of people were saying, hey, I called this name and I called this name. It's the whole, you did, but it's the whole group. There wasn't a particular catalyst with some of the names that we saw, that we've been seeing a lot of option activity in, but the whole group is going to move, and we've definitely been seeing call buying in a couple names, actually in a few names, which I talked about in yesterday's video. That was one of the themes that I talked about, was a lot of call buying in individual names. We also saw a nice XBI call buyer today. That's the equally weighted, so more speculative call buying, more speculative, I would say, ETF versus IBB. So 5,000 of those were bought midday, before those headlines came out. And then just like that, there was also rumors about steel, and tariffs on steel. So that shot that group up as well. We did see a nice aggressive call buyer in U.S. steel. Midday, there was a total of 14,000 of those contracts traded. So that was something that that we mentioned. I'm long a bunch of these names. So, in cash, I got long SLX about, a week, 2 weeks ago. I also added CMC. Also got a boost today. So, the steel names that I put on have been working quite nicely in our Tribeca Trade Group trend cash portfolio. So that's working really nice now, especially the last couple weeks. So I'll start to go through individual names. Those were a couple names. Then there was a whole bunch of other things to go over. So, some chunky orders, not quite as many orders in terms of quantity of names as we saw yesterday, but still a lot of chunky orders. And I just compiled all the stats for the day, and there was quite a bit of stuff going on. I guess I'll start with Apple. Apple, we really haven't seen much of any call buying, in the last couple of weeks. While some technology names have taken off, kind of left Apple behind. So everything else rallied, and today was the biggest day that we've seen call activity. I did not take anything in Apple today. There was a couple longer dated trades. There was some Decembers that went up, and a little bit of Octobers. I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. I kind of saw that we were running into a little bit of resistance. So we do have a nice MACD crossover, but when I see resistance ahead, I'll wait one more day. So a lot of traders in the trading room play this today. I had enough of a lot of other positions to manage that from the last couple of days as well as today that I got into. So it kind of kept me busy. So I didn't really do much day trading today at all today. Teva, big short-term call buyer in this one. We saw calls go up yesterday as well in Teva. Fiat Chrysler. This is a pure breakout. So look at the chart in FCAU. This is something that's been going. So if we actually go to even a 5-year chart, you could see it pretty well on a 1-year chart. But if we back this up to a 5-year chart, this is a clear breakout. So this has been going sideways for a long time. And so even though this name was up, sorry, I'm switching around to different charts. But even though this name was up 4%, considering it's been moving sideways forever, I think nothing wrong with buying this on a day where it's up 4%, considering that it's basically done nothing for years. So 16,000 of those August 12 calls went up. So let me get back to a couple. I can't go over all these transactions today because it was a lot of them. PVH, this kind of went up with a lot of the other names. PVH has been strong for a while, so I actually took this trade. I think it looks pretty good. Didn't exactly close perfectly on the highs, but got a nice boost. I was able to hit a target in PVH. This was before all these green bars surfaced, so nice trade. And this one, and I'll stay long this one for a little bit in PVH. So those were August. And again, we've been seeing this more often where there's calls purchased and puts sold. I view that as more aggressive than somebody just buying calls outright, right? They're really making a stand when they sell puts as well. Yandex, that was the story of the day. in terms of a gap up, and they went after calls today as well. So they're looking for more upside in this one. This name has been depressed. A lot of people I think kind of look at this name and they say, "Oh, geez, I can't buy it on this type of a gap up." But you kind of go back and look at the 5-year chart, and this name is nowhere near, the 2013 highs. So I think this thing's got more to go. Maybe it back and fills a little bit. I would keep this name on your radar. A couple other names that saw action in the semi space. Cypress saw a nice big block of September 14 calls. We'll have to check open interest on that one tomorrow because there was already a decent amount of open interest. They did look bought to me. AMBA also saw some calls go up. Corvo, again, I've been in Corvo now for a couple weeks. They keep going after calls in Corvo, so that's a good sign. It's one of my favorite things when you're already in a position and when you're already in a position and you see call buying. So when you're already established. So, you kind of want to ride the wave when that happens. I would be looking to take some targets here right before we get to the bottom of value at 69.28. Also notice the MACD crossover on Corvo, so some good things happening in that chart. If I keep going down the list, SPGI, this is a position where we saw call buying in a couple weeks ago. If you want a play on ETFs, this is just like, not just like, but very similar to MSCI. These are the guys who manage the indices, right? That ETFs track. So they get licensing fees from the ETF providers. So they just keep printing money. The more that there's the more ETF assets continue to grow, which they've been doing now year over year, names like MSCI and SPGI should do well. Where they could run into issues is, if people start taking money out of ETFs, which I certainly, haven't seen that. So I'm already in this name, but again, nice big block of SPGI. I think this was an over $1 million trade. 3,000, not swept, but you could see $1.3 million in premium going all the way out to February. So nice chunky size trade. Love it. That's the 160 calls. So another $10 up. Again, love the repeat call buying. What else? I feel like I'm missing one. So a couple of names. There was a decent amount of puts. I'm not going to go through these. A couple names that were up, like TLRD. Somebody fading today's strength, kind of makes sense to me. EUFN. So a bunch of, we've got the big banks reporting tomorrow. EUFN, this is European Financials, continues to make new highs. Let me show you what this looks like in terms of fund flows, right? It's kind of the options are, the option action as well as the cash action has been confirming one another. So this is a 5-year chart. Kind of puts things in perspective. Look at all the inflows going in over the last year. When I zoom in and look at the last year, I did not enter into this name. I think it's a little bit extended here. So notice every time there's a lot of volume that goes into EUFN, you usually get an opportunity for this to come back in. So same thing over here, big inflows coming in. So this is actual money, again, going into actual investment. So, notice that it kind of, moved this pretty far up away from the 50-day moving average, and it came back in. So here's your place to buy. So notice all these inflows again. It's looking a little bit extended to me. Could it get more extended? Of course. But they're going out to January. So a lot of times you can get in. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but a lot of times you can get into cheaper. You can get into these option signals for cheaper. And that's what I would be looking to do with this EUFN. This was swept. They were purchased for 330. Either that or sometimes I start a position. I didn't even start a position in it. I'm going to wait for this to maybe try to come in a little bit here. And this is definitely a name on my watch list. Again, you can't take every trade. All these trades that I mentioned and talked about, no way that you could take every single trade. So some of these you just kind of have to keep on your radar. So I think I'm going to leave it there for the day. So again, a good amount of option activity again, and in a bunch of different areas. So, some tech, some financials, some going into healthcare as well, and some going into the material space. So something for everybody. There was also a casino buyer earlier in the morning, MLCO, which is the old MPEL. Saw some calls on that one at the beginning of the day. So that's it. Have a great evening, and I'll see you back bright and early Friday morning. Have a great night.